How are we doing today? So just going live here. Looks like we're live. Today I thought I'd talk a little bit about the blues and perhaps a little bit about pentatonic scales, and in particular dominant pentatonic type things. And one thing I've been thinking about recently, especially with respect to adults learning and improving on the instrument and developing some improvisational, I don't know if that's a word, improvisation type skills, is to take what you already are good at and what you already know and try to push the boundaries of that, and move forward from there. I mean, I think we can do a lot to just, learn something entirely new, but it kind of does get us a little untethered from our regular perspectives on what we know well, what we can find. So I think pentatonics is kind of one of those areas for guitarists where we tend to maybe gravitate towards. So I think I'll talk today just a little bit about altering some of those pentatonics, or maybe also using modes of the pentatonics, and also an area where I think we can all strengthen our skills is to take take one scale and be able to move a little bit over to another scale, and also to try to think of what's in common with those two. So I thought I might talk a little bit about that with respect to 2/5s, things like that. Jeffrey, yes, good morning. How are you doing? Just got my new black version of the uh, uh, guitar and improvisation podcast mug, so I'm pretty excited about that. Having a little extra coffee this morning. I woke up really, really early. And Eduardo, thanks for joining. Oh, you are most welcome. Appreciate you watching and joining here. Just released the Straight No Chaser video, which I had done a video a long ways back, but I did it over here. In that video, which is great and works out really well in that position. But I thought maybe I would at least change it up just a little bit, show a different position, do a more updated version of my videos. So I played it up in this area for that video. But once you learn in one spot, see about moving it to different locations and stuff. Thanks, Jason L, for joining in. Oftentimes when I revisit these tunes, or I'll almost always do some listening on different recordings, of course including Thelonious Monk. So, and I'll take different aspects of different recordings. Like I took one of the possibly earlier Thelonious Monk recordings, and it was kind of on the slow end of the tempo spectrum for that tune, and so I thought I'd take about that tempo, which I think sounded sounded pretty good. But I was checking out other recordings. Miles Davis, of course, Coltrane, Cannonball Adderley, believe that recording from that period on that with that group, and listen to John McLaughlin, which was a cool version of it too, which I really enjoyed. So I'm gonna do a little kind of noodling around here for a couple of minutes. Let me know what you're kind of working on, what your challenges might be, if any, and all that. But I'll do a little playing here, and then I'll get into a little discussion on pentatonics and some ways to expand what you already know on that. So mute my microphone for now. Okay, some interesting things that we can do on with pentatonics as our kind of note collection. So it can be helpful, and we do kind of generally talk about notes a lot in music, but it can be helpful to think about note collections and chord scales, how things relate to different notes. So a lot of folks will, myself included, will get an introduction to guitar and get an introduction to pentatonics almost on day one, and we usually learn the A minor pentatonic, right? A minor 5-note scale. And so if I take that on to D as my root note here, I can play that same scale up here in position 10. So let's say we're playing this tune. So I was just kind of improvising a bit there on Beautiful Love. So let's say we're improvising on this tune. That D minor 7, let's say I move over to this position. D minor 7 is going to fit really great on D minor. It's actually going to work pretty nicely on G minor as well. And so it can serve those moments. Let's check out F major. This tune also goes to F major. So let's say we're thinking F major 7 or F major 9. D minor pentatonic, we're going to have a mode of that, in all these D minor, there's a G minor, so we can think about that as a chord scale. F, so that works as well as a chord scale on that. Now, where you kind of run into limitations on that is that on some of the chords, it's going to, kind of not really outline what that chord is saying. So let's say we have the E minor 7 flat 5 here. So what could we possibly do with that? Well, let's say you know E minor pentatonic real well. Well, we could take the fifth tone of that and simply lower it, right? Okay, and then we have, all of a sudden we have a scale that really spells out the E minor 7 flat 5, right? So try that as just sort of an express route to taking something that you probably know pretty well, minor pentatonic scale, and all of a sudden you can play the E minor 7 flat 5 and improvise over that pretty readily, right? So, right, and you could keep on playing that, really. Might have some slight tension with the A7, but you can even play that and then go to D minor pentatonic, right? So. So that can be kind of a helpful little area to work on. 2 5s that are just somewhat altered or somewhat different. Let me offer you another alternative to explore on this as well. What if we had a pentatonic scale like this? That would also fit pretty nicely on the E minor 7 flat 5. So there you might actually consider a mode of the C dominant pentatonic. So let's check into that a little bit. And actually C7 does come up in the in this progression as well. So if you know minor pentatonic, and we could talk about A minor pentatonic. One mode of that is the C major pentatonic. So if you assign C as the root note and use the same note collection, then you're thinking in terms of a C chord of some kind. So if you aren't already, be sure to get familiar with the different modes of the pentatonic as well, or the different chord scale options on the pentatonic. So what can we do with this to make it really sit in with C7 and really suggest the sound of C7? Well, instead of playing this tone of the C major pentatonic, you can play this tone. So we take the 6th above the root note and raise it a half step, replace it with that note. You could actually keep both if you want. But then you're not in pentatonics anymore. Okay, so there's the concept of the dominant pentatonic. And this is going to have different modes, which are going to be pretty interesting and useful, right? We're going to have E minor 7 flat 5, which we were just talking about. So it'll fit that very nicely. Another real interesting thing about pentatonics is that, let's say you're going to G, let's say we're on G minor pentatonic. And so let's say we have G minor 7. So I'm just taking a little snippet of this tune. G minor 7 to C7, or C9 in this case, to F major 7. So that's a 2-5 progression. And so we can, of course, play D minor, or G minor, excuse me, G minor pentatonic. And then we can play that C dominant pentatonic after that. And one thing that's kind of interesting about that is just there's only one note different. Right? So you can actually outline the 2-5 by going back and forth between G minor pentatonic and also that C dominant pentatonic. And if it's helpful for you, try to think about G as from this chord scale or from this mode. This is oftentimes called the G minor 6 pentatonic or minor 6 pentatonic. All right, Jeffrey has a question. Is that an added pickup between your bass pickup, bridge and bridge pickup? Let's see. So there is an added pickup if this is the one you mean. What are these called? Hexaphonic, I think. Hexaphonic pickup. So it actually has like 6 individual pickups, each one for a string. And what I use this for is entering MIDI notes into the DAW, so I can actually enter in some. So sometimes when you hear piano, in particular piano or keyboards on some of the recordings I've done, they've been entered by me playing the guitar, actually. So I'll play the guitar. It will take that and enter it in as a MIDI note, I guess you would call it, and then it'll play back using a virtual instrument. So that's the main use for that, and it works really pretty well. And I also sometimes use it for visuals. So some of the VSTs have some displays that can show real time what I'm playing. And I've got that kind of on the back burner right now, but I do intend to kind of get back to that. Yeah, you're welcome, Jeffrey. So, yeah, so let's talk a little bit about some of the things going on here. Let me mention, please do like and subscribe if you are checking this out for the first time, or just getting to know the channel here. Like and subscribe and turn on notifications. I know we get quite a few views on the vertical live stream. So assuming a percentage of those folks are probably kind of new. Just released the Straight No Chaser video. So how about we talk a little bit about that and dominant pentatonic type scales, which I want to mention. You can really easily get started with that, no problem at all. If you know pentatonics, it's just going to be a little adjustment, and you just adjust really just one of those tones. So let's say you're improvising on Straight No Chaser, and let's say maybe know some arpeggios. Let's say some bebop scales and stuff like that, and you're thinking, all right, pentatonic scale, maybe play a chorus or two, or even just a few measures with a G minor pentatonic. Playing minor against major, it's kind of part of that whole blues vocabulary. So doing that, but then you think, well, what about these chords? So where you might say, well, maybe we'll want a pentatonic move from one chord to the next. So let's say it was C or F9, and we think, well, maybe F major would be a good sound, which it is. So perfectly great to go for. I mean, if you have the chordal player playing F9 or F7, and you're playing F major pentatonic, that would be good. Same thing for B flat. You can play B flat major pentatonic. But now we can also play the dominant pentatonic. And then what that does for you is it just gets you a little closer to what the chord, the fundamental aspect of it, or the shell voicing of it, kind of like the F7 going on. So then you can take that major pentatonic, or major, pentatonic, and take this tone up a half step. And then if you haven't already done this, after you play with that for a little while, you'll get it, and you can really outline the changes doing that way. Right. And that's another little thing to consider on improvisation, is to have different tools in the toolbox, have different ways of speaking in a way. You can think about your day-to-day life and how you might talk to someone at an office, or talk to someone at a workplace, or talk to someone like after work, more casually, and our language changes depending on where we are and who we're talking to, what the context is. So when we're improvising, and I'm talking mostly about kind of the note collections at this moment, but we can have different ways of communicating where you might use more formal type language or more grammatically correct type language in certain circumstances, and then you might use more slang and casual speech in another type of circumstance. With changes, it can be kind of like that. Like if you play that F minor pentatonic over everything, then that's sort of a manner of speaking and a thing to really definitely include. But as I was mentioning in some of the videos I've been doing for the website, fretprints.com, and the member area here on YouTube, is to mix it up, especially when you have a shorter form. It's 12 measures. You may want to be able to use different things. So this dominant pentatonic can really come in handy here. And work through like that. Okay, let me check some of the sites here and everything. So we're streaming on a few different platforms here. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram, which I don't know what happens to that video after it's live, but I don't think it gets replayed. But streaming on Instagram, and I have been putting some of my short videos up there. And let's see what else. We've got vertical and horizontal on YouTube, which is of course my kind of main outlet, my main platform, all that. So I talked a little bit earlier this week about put a video out on spread triads. So I'm curious to know what everybody kind of thinks about that. I talked about the E spread triad and kind of moving that into different positions. I think I even went into some kind of in-between sort of positions here, like where you really kind of spread the fingers as well as the triad itself. But that can help us in all sorts of different ways. It can really start to help you decode the fingerboard itself. It can open up your voicing options. I was checking out, it's funny, I was checking out, maybe it's not so coincidence, maybe it has to do with these algorithms, search algorithms and things, but I was seeing this Tim Lurch video talking about Ted Green chords in this V system, which I was checking out a little bit, but it seems to relate a bit to kind of these spread triads and things in different ways of voicing chords, so and I'm just kind of getting familiar with this whole terminology of the V system and all this, but if we were to apply that to the E major, right, you'd have this kind of close sort of voicing thing happening. So let's say that's G major 7. Or you could kind of do maybe even 6, hard to reach. X. But taking that and so some of these kind of spread triads, you're going to kind of remove some of those tones to get it down to 3 maybe, and spread it out, right? So you get. But it's interesting to notice that you could take other elements, let's say from some of these chords, like let's say I had a D7 here, so E7. So you could take different elements from that and start incorporating that in various ways, right? Or that C sharp that I put. Let's see. Let's start with that one maybe. This might be a little easier to illustrate some chord options. So you could actually play, C sharp minor triad while playing in the context of E major or even E7. You can also move these things around. So let's say you have a couple beats to play on a certain chord. You can create little motions inside of the chord and create different sounds like that, right? So you could have this. To create some inner motion and all that. So those are our kind of latest 2 videos. We had the spread triads video and straight note chaser video as well. Okay, well, I'm going to do a little more playing here, noodle around a bit, and let me know if you have any questions or what you've been working on. I'll be around here for another 10 minutes or so, 10, 15 minutes. And if you haven't already seen this before, generally here on Sunday mornings, that may change around a little bit as baseball season starts. So I'm gonna have to be a little flexible with this so I don't miss games. Not that I play, but just watching my son play. But I think actually the next 2 weekends this time should be good. All right, well, I'm gonna just do a little noodling around here. If you see or hear anything in what I'm doing that you're kind of interested in, I'll ask me about it, and I'll try to see if I can, explain maybe what I'm doing a little bit. Okay, so mixing in, pentatonics and kind of what are we working towards when we think about these kind of note collections and things like that? Well, we want to have at our fingertips an awareness of what's available, note wise, and think about rhythms that you want to include and really attach a note to it, and try to work with your internal ear to kind of hum along with your lines and consider making more and more connections between chords and how they move from one to the next. If you're playing, that's another kind of issue with playing is if you have a chordal player and a bass player, you've got drums and stuff. Um, you may be able to spend almost as much time as you like, or any indefinite amount of time, just kind of working with kind of blues scale. But if you play solo guitar, it's going to be um, your listeners are going to miss what's going on harmonically, right? Unless you do a little bit to suggest what the some of the chord progressions are, and you can even build in additional chord progressions into things that you're already doing. Um, for example, you could take the F, build a G flat 7, then do G minor 7, and then G flat 7, and then back. Right, so you can do that. Right, and it's just really, it really kind of opens up like what kind of like I was saying earlier, what kind of language and how long your sentences can be in a sense, and what your statements can offer, like in a in a no words, like musical kind of way. And as I talked about in the beginning, taking pentatonics and being able to alter them a bit, being able to move from one pentatonic into another pentatonic, try to notice what's different and what's similar there. And then another kind of maybe level of that is to be able to take some contrast, to use a pentatonic that is close, but maybe it suggests some of the upper structure triads or something like that. Because all this is, you'll find, I think, as you explore all these triads and scales and all these things, they're all interconnected. So if, let's say, you're playing and you're wanting to end the tune, let's say a straight note chaser, and you're going to end on that. It's hard to get the fingers in here. End on a F7 sharp 11 here, which is pretty typical ending kind of chord. What kind of neat things can we do with that? Well, we could actually play G dominant pentatonic. So that's just kind of a cool little option there, that could really get at that sharp 11, right? And it gives you the 9, it gives you the 13, it gives you all of those tensions. So you could take that and explore moving between G dominant pentatonic and F dominant pentatonic. And maybe create a really awesome cadenza based on that or something, or a really nice run or something based on that whole thing. All right, everybody. Well, I'll mention a few things that I will have included in at least most of the descriptions of various places where I'm streaming. So do offer lessons and consultations, all sorts of things. If you need coaching and you're already, kind of like up and playing and doing gigs and stuff, but looking to expand your language and stuff like we're talking about here, set up a session. Also helping folks with their music production. And so if you're looking to get a track out, I'm offering small project type services for single tracks to do some basic processing on to have your tracks translate to different playback systems and things like that. And also educational materials like fretprints.com, fretprints.com website. And lessons and talks here on the channel. We're doing both of those, the website and lessons and talks. We're actually doing 2 member live streams per week, so can really dig deeper with your skills and things. All right, well, I'm going to take another minute to play noodle a little bit, and then I'll say our farewells here on for a few more minutes. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning in today and listening. I do appreciate it. And I will see you all in the next one. Enjoy your practice sessions. Hopefully get something in. Kind of review or summarization of the topics today. Take what you know and expand from there. Don't get too frustrated with the sort of the enormity of jazz improvisation topics and skills. Try to branch out from what you're already strong with, and of course learn new things, but just kind of stay anchored with your current skill set. So my kind of hope at some advice. I do follow some folks, and I try to take some influence from channels that I do like, and there's a guitar Berkeley teacher. I think his name is Tomo. I'll have to look it up. I'm following him, but he has some really nice advice for students. So try to share that along with folks here, because I think it's really important. Um, you know, he says certain things like don't expect too fast, and don't be in a big hurry. You kind of can't force learning. You just try to keep internalizing and keep moving forward. And if we all do that, we'll all just get a little better each day. And um, whatever is available to us at this moment, if you just want to enjoy and sit, play, do a little playing and play what you know, and practice to get better. So those are like two areas to consider. Yuna Yi says One Love Bob Marley. Absolutely. And so great for um, I really do. I am grateful for your chats and everything, and I will see you all in the next one.